Responsibility. That's what a lot of people don't want to talk about today, not even when it comes to talking about spirituality and religion. Responsibility. Responding to not only one's actions, but other people's actions. And responding to the actions that one causes by one's behavior. Responsibility means the ability to respond, and also the ability to make others respond, the ability to deliberately carry out actions that affect other people and oneself, in other words. Nowadays, though, it seems that people don't want to take responsibility. It has become a bad word. All of the problems in the world come from other people doing things and never from ourselves, our countries, our communities, all of the collective extensions that we have that we call groups. We are persecuted not because of what we do, but because of others. Now some people turn that around. They try to pretend that every bad thing that happens to us comes because of some flaw that we have in our character, or because we're unwise, or because we're dressing the same or not the same, the wrong way, doing things the wrong way. That would be an exaggeration also. It has nothing to do with that. Because there are victims. There are people who are attacked. There are people who experience pain and suffering. Terrible things happen to good people, sometimes for no reason. Just because of being in bad luck situations, sometimes they're targeted. We have to be able to distinguish between these things, you see, and what one brings upon oneself. That distinguishing is usually something that is done on a personal level, even though it can be done on a corporate level. The problem with it being done on a corporate level, though, is nowadays people tend not to listen, not to trust their communities, even friends. People have developed these large egos. They believe that they are the very creators of the universe. Some even think that they are God. But being God does not mean being superior to the universe. It means giving to the universe. It means serving the whole universe. Because the Goddess that I believe in, the one that I uphold, is not the one that stomps down, beats down, and has power over by the fear of swords and thunderbolts. No. It is the one that gives life to every tree, to every plant, to every person, to everyone, regardless of their thoughts and behavior. The greatness of Goddess comes not from receiving, but giving, and more importantly, being willing to give. But some people nowadays have that mixed up. They bought into this power over idea, a power over society, where the ones at the top are supposed to be the best, so they themselves strive to be the best, even when they are pretending to tear down such a system. In many communities where people are standing up and fighting for social justice, we find that the ones who usually rise to the top are just like the ones who are at the top now, stomping down, oppressing, being aggressive and rude. The ones in these communities fighting for social justice are usually more tolerant, more accepting. They try to put up with these people and they see it as zeal. Zeal for the truth. zeal for pushing forward the agenda, zeal for fighting against injustice. But sometimes it is simply a person who has all those things, yes, but on the inside they have the same aggressive nature as the oppressor, and if they ever get into a position of power, they are going to create the system that the oppressor made. Except in their creation you will have different faces, different people, maybe different races or ethnicities, being the oppressors this time. And that is the issue, you see. The root of the problem is not who the oppressor is. The root of the problem is that the oppressor exists. And the oppression is built directly into the ideology of the world and nature in which we find ourselves. And as long as we don't deal with that, nothing's going to change. How do we deal with that? By not tolerating those behaviors, period. Not letting aggressive, nasty people disguised as social justice advocates push their way to the top. We must force our leaders to be like the God who serves, who brings forth life, and who is great because he or she is willing to do so. Aside from fame, aside from fortune and recognition. And such a person has to be a healthy person who loves themselves, accepts themselves fully, and who can step back and see the world and empathize with everyone. It has to be a person who's not creating enemies all the time, not using the new methodology for creating enemies. You see, because a long time ago, the way people created enemies and the way people abused others was to create stereotypes. They'd create large groups of people and they'd group them together. Then they'd create these negative images of them and negative belief systems so that people would believe all these groups were evil, treacherous, stupid, many negative things. The new method, however, is more sophisticated and it works faster. The new method, instantaneous negative stereotyping, comes when a person begins to label other people. If we can slap a label on that person, we can treat them in a horrible, ungodly way, stomp on them, kick them, and beat them, and still think that we are decent and good people. And so the new stereotype is simply labeling people instead of dealing with them as human beings. Why do I talk about this when I'm talking about spirituality? Because spirituality, if it's only one thing, it's about living in truth. It's about living in reality. Not only truth and reality that is transcendent and lies beyond the physical realm. No, one has to also deal with this world, the physical realm. There are laws and there are principles and there are things that work certain ways right here where we live now, and one cannot avoid them by playing the woo-woo card. One has to live in this reality as well as in the ultimate reality, because you see, they are one and the same. As Earth and the Fire once said, hey, we studied occult sciences, world religions, and mysticism, and coming from a hip place. That helps to develop an inner self, but there's an outer self that you have to deal with. The one that has to dress up and go to parties and look good and all that. And if there ain't no beauty, you gotta make some beauty. If there ain't no beauty within yourself, you have to make it. If there ain't no beauty in your family or your community, you have to make it. And if there ain't no beauty in the world, you have to make beauty. And that is the charge of the spiritual person. Not only to talk about the beauty that exists in the heavens and all of these great thoughts and ideas or higher vibrations and escaping to them. No, it's about making beauty wherever one is. Because, you see, there is only one thing. One thing expressed in many different forms, ideologies, different materials that we can see in this world. We're looking through telescopes. They all look different. They all sound different. They all seem different. But in reality, there's only one thing. And if one cannot contend with foot soldiers, as they say in the Bible, what are you going to do when people come on horseback? On this earth, on this plane, one is learning to contend with the foot soldiers. And the foot soldiers that one is contending with are not necessarily outside of oneself, but it was the thoughts, the ideas, the images, the twisted and warped things that work within us in order to shape our thoughts and ideas, so that we in turn, slowly but surely, become our own enemies and our own oppressors. Firstly by oppressing and suppressing ourselves, and then as a natural result of that by living a lifestyle that suppresses others. For those who are arrogant, those who are pushy, those who think that they have the right to say anything once they made them into an enemy, are the ones who are most oppressive to themselves. Something to think about. See the link below if you want to hear some more of these videos. Visit our website. That will be in the description also. I hope you will have a great week. Namaste, everyone. Let's all stay woke.